everybody kind of talks about how now the big can't win in a tournament, right? Have you heard that at times lately?
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like you guys have kind of answered that question a little bit and put it to bed with you and Adama?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like me and Adama, have been dominating the center position throughout the whole tournament. Adama in particular has, I don't even know what he's averaging, but it's got to be close to 20 points a game in the tournament and 10 rebounds. But that's one of the biggest things that our team has been successful with the whole year is whenever me and Adama are playing at our best level and all the bench guys are contributing to the best of their ability, it's hard for us to get beat. Me and Adama, there's times where the guards aren't feeling as hot, and we just gotta dominate from the center position.
Do you look back at where you were a year ago and where you are now? I mean, I remember when I saw you practice, I texted somebody. I won't tell you who it was, but I was like, this kid looks something. Like, what did you think him? Because he saw you a lot more. You could probably figure it out back in AAU in high school. He was like, well, he was overweight and he didn't play hard. And I'm like, him? Because I hadn't seen you that much.
Right.
You didn't seem like the same player that people were describing to me a year or two ago.
Exactly. Yeah. In high school, I feel like I took things a little easier than I should have, and but once I was in summer transitioning into college, I realized what I was gonna have to do to make it to the next level and succeed at this level. And I was losing some weight, gaining some muscle, and just playing tougher in practice and working harder. So over the summer I was, I lost about 25 pounds and, was in the gym 2-3 times a day just trying to get better. Hard work's the biggest thing of, improving your game and being able to compete at the next level.
How crazy has it been just off the court for you guys? You had your iPad stolen, right?
Yeah.
And then you had the hotel thing in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then Jordan gets sick.
Yeah.
What's that all been like?
I mean, it's just, just a little adversity that we all, just have to work to. Coach always, emphasizes that, toughest teams could battle through the adversity, and other people are gonna have to step up. Jordan, credit to Jordan. I mean, I saw him the night before, the game, and the day before the game, and he was in rough shape. I've been here for 9 months now, and I've yet to see Jordan miss a practice. So to see him miss a practice, I knew something was seriously wrong, but I just know that he's such a tough dude, and that he was going to dog it out yesterday, and he did. Credit to him for running up and down the floor after all the stomach issues that he was going through, and I'm just happy for him, proud of him. But we got one more to take care of business tomorrow.
What was the deal with the hotels?
Yeah, I mean, it was just dirty, and it just didn't belong there.
And your iPad just took it off the bus?
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that.
Stays in places like that all the time. So no problem.
I stay where they tell me to stay. Thanks, man.
Of course, thank you.
Donovan, getting Jordan back yesterday. First off, when did you know that Jordan was ready to go?
When I saw him walk in the breakfast room in the morning, with the smile on his face and a little more energy than I saw him have the day before, I knew that he'd be all right. When we came to shoot around, and he was up and down the floor, running up and down the floor, knocking down shots, and was playing with a little bit of swagger. I just knew that he'd be all right for last night's game. He's a special player. He's a special dude, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to help his team win.
How does Jordan's skill set when he's on the floor help out you and Adama?
I mean, it just spaces the floor out so much. He's a knockdown shooter. If you leave him open, it's going to go in. So you can't really help off of him, and which leaves more space for me and Adama to go one-on-one in the post, and leaves us more space in the ball screen game. Even when we're setting pin downs for him off the ball, if my guy has to jump up and help, I'm slipping to the basket for an open lane. So he's just such a skilled player, all around, and could just do so many things.
After seeing him the night before, he hit the first shot of the game. What did that do for the team?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just got us going, and it got us feeling, like, oh, he's ready for this. Like Jordan's good. He's such a, like I said, he comes in at the biggest moments and, makes the biggest plays because, he works so hard for it. He's in the gym hours a day, early in the morning, late at night, 2-3 times a day, just getting shots up, working on his craft, and, just trying to get better, which, so moments like these, he's confident in, and, there's no nerves and no butterflies, and he just goes out there and does his thing.
How do you beat San Diego State?
Yeah, we just got to be aggressive. We got to be physical. We got to keep defending the ball the way we've been doing it. They're a great defensive team, and we're a good offensive team. So we just got to attack them, and be strong with the ball, finish at the rim, and knock down open shots.
What's your message to UConn fans ahead of tomorrow's game?
I mean, we're all ready. I hope you guys are ready. We're gonna work our tails off to bring home number 5.
Thanks, Donovan.